One of the biggest problems in America right now is black privilege.
Black Americans are one of the most privileged people in the world, and we have to talk about it more.
Please do tell me how privileged black Americans are.
Here's the average salary in Mexico, in Ukraine, in Egypt, in Vietnam, all big countries with huge economies from different continents. And here is average welfare check in USA. You see the difference?
Of course we pander to blacks. They're in every TV commercial. They get more privileges to come into society. They come into every college on preferential with lower test scores. You can't ever say anything negative. You can lose your job. You have your entire life obliterated if you say something racist. And yet we have to hear about how racist we are. How about you take responsibility for your own actions instead of blaming the white man?
All right, welcome back to my YouTube commentary. Now, white people are raged that black people are getting better than them. I call it, they are saying that black people have something that we call black privilege. And they are talking about it, they are discussing about it because they said equality was the goal, but until black people actually started winning. So when black people started winning, then suddenly they call it black privilege. Okay? That is so interesting. Grand Rising family, welcome back to my YouTube space. I hope you are doing okay. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being here. I love you deeply and I love you so much. Now, before I continue with my video about white people raged about black people, let me talk about something. You always say that I don't do videos about Africa, but I have a channel called Neo Africa. Neo Africa. Go to that channel if you want to know something that's going on in Africa, some things going on in Burkina Faso, Sudan, Kenya, Uganda. Go there in Neo Africa. And then make sure you watch the videos and comment down there and say you are coming from Kenyan Biz. Now, welcome. Let's talk about this phrase floating around. Black privilege. Personally, I understand. You know, some things we are doing, some things black people get away with it. I call it black privilege, okay? And it's true that black people are doing better, but not because of privilege. It's because of accountability. It's because when we are going on equity, when we are on a balance scale, and as black people we are doing greater, it is not privilege. It is that black people are always better, but we have been suppressed for so long. Okay? So the same world that spent centuries telling us that we were less now cries when we rise. You know, the same system that built itself off our genius, of our strength, of our culture, of our blood, suddenly feels oppressed because what? Because the children of Africa are realizing who they are again. Before I continue, I want you to watch these clips and make sure you watch up to the end. Please. Let's take this channel to 100K subscribers. Let's watch this video and we'll come back.
One of the biggest problems in America right now is black privilege.
I am so sick of the people that, listen, I want to talk and I'm going to talk and I'm going to say what I want to say and none of you can stop me from saying it. Like, I'm sorry, I done my practice and I done my revision before coming on this platform. I revised. So I know that a lot of people are going to try and stop me from talking, but I will not be stopped. All right, and you can't cancel me too because none of you put me where I am. Okay, so I want to say that black people have privilege because we do. We have privilege. Use your privilege. Open your eyes. Do what you need to do for your life. Take it by force. Make a way where there is no way. Stop allowing yourself to be, oh my God, it's not fair. Life is not fair. Life is not fair because you are not doing what you need to do. Don't you realize that? Don't you get it? You have everything you need.
When you're black, you're never really alone because there's always some racist white boy obsessing over you. So what he does is he cherry picks a bunch of headlines that make his story look good, and he cherry picks one city with a large black population and a large Asian population, all of lower economic bracket, all living together with the Asian population having a greater chance of economic mobility than the black population. And poverty, as it has always done, leads to crime. Because poverty creates the desperate circumstances which makes crime seen as a valid alternative. If you really wanted to end crime, you would increase social safety nets so no one ever felt desperate enough to commit crime. But anyway, I just find these right-wingers so insane. Right now, Donald Trump and Republicans are trying to reach out to black people. But on the other hand, they still have people like this dude demonizing black people. Even when it's politically advantageous for them not to be racist, they just can't help themselves. I guess it's in their blood or something.
I have a theory about why black women and white women are having such a hard time getting along, and it starts with a story. When I first started teaching, I was in a teacher training program with 3 other women. 2 of them were black and 1 of them was Indian, and we started teaching at the same school, the same grade, at the same time. One of these women, a black woman, completely excelled. She did so much better than I did at literally everything. Classroom management, her test scores were high. She was excellent at literally everything. And something about her excellence didn't sit right with me. I just didn't feel good about it, and I couldn't figure out why I didn't feel good about it. It was internalized racism, but I didn't know that yet. So I had to sit with this idea of her being better than me and trying to figure out why it didn't feel good and feel comfortable for me. And of course, at the time, I didn't know that I needed to do the work of anti-racism, so I didn't think it was possibly because I could have internalized racism. I had to do a lot of study and thought about myself and what could possibly be making me feel this way about this woman. And here's what I discovered. Most of the media that I had consumed up to that point in my life had white people as the central characters. And the shows and other media that I consumed that had white women at the central characters often had black women as the side characters. These black women's role in these movies was to assist the white women, support the white women, advise the white women, but never to rise above the white women. Even shows that were about black women, like The Help, had white women as the central character and the black women as supporting characters. So I internalized the idea that black women were there to support me and to advise me, but not to rise above or become better than me. And that's why when this black teacher was way better and more talented than me, I felt some kind of way about it. Now, I'd imagine lots and lots more white women have also internalized the same idea, and that's why they feel okay stealing black women's content and not giving them any credit, because the black women are just there to advise them anyway. But most black women are natural leaders. Society has forced them to become leaders. And so we need to step aside and let them lead, even if it means checking our privilege and letting them lead us.
Yesterday, I made a video about how when I'm in France, people are always asking me, oh, well, like, where are you from? Like, where are you really from? Where are your grandparents from? And I'm like, yeah, like, I'm a black American. Like, everybody's from the United States, like enslavement. Yeah, okay. But another thing that happens when I'm in France is what I would call black American privilege. Now, let me be clear. This is a very sensitive term, so I am only comparing it to the experiences of other black people in France, not white people. Like, white people always still have all the privilege everywhere. But so what happens for me when I'm in France as a black American is when I walk into a store, I still experience racism, okay? Just when people are looking at me, still they will accuse me of stealing, ask me for a receipt for no reason, or just be like extra rude. And look, I know people say that French people are rude, whatever, but there are sometimes, you know, when we know when it's about race. Okay, so yeah. But the minute I speak English, or even if I'm speaking French with them, like, I don't know what I sound like to them, but like they stay rude. If an American friend comes to join me and we're like, oh my God, done. Their attitudes completely, they completely change. And they're like, oh my God, welcome. Oh my God, you want to try that? Oh my God, do you like that? And I'm like, really? Like, that's what it took, is for you hearing my American accent. And I'm not going to lie, coming from a country where, you know, we as black Americans experience racism all the time, like constantly, it feels nice to be somewhere and be able to like flex my little black American card and have them treat me nicely. But it's also not lost on me how completely fucked up it is. Like, seriously, like, when I think about how black French people or Africans who are in France must get treated, It's actually horrifying. And I just want to clarify, I'm not saying that all French people are rude, or like most of the stores that I go into, I get accused of, something. I'm saying in the cases when this does happen, and this does happen.
There's no such thing as women privilege. There's only protection against men. The same way there's no such thing as black privilege. It's only protection against racism. Like, I don't understand how people keep saying things like DEI, right, is giving a leg up to people of color or black people, and it's just like, no, it's giving protection against racism. Like, they're doing this lawsuit against the Voting Rights Act right now, saying that it's racism, but no, it's against white people, but no, it's protection against racism. It's not a privilege for black people. It is a protection from white people. Like, I don't like the same thing. It's just like men can't do certain things in women's spaces, and it's just like, oh, why do women get their own shelters, or why do women get this, that, and the third? It's like, no, that's not a privilege. It's a protection. It's a protection from historical harms that have been perpetuated by people against these populations. Like, what is wrong with you? Why don't you understand that? Why is that so upsetting to you that people need protection from you? Like, I think that's what it is. Men and white people, they get upset when there are protections against, white people, against black people. Blah, blah. White people and black and men. White people and men get upset when there are protections placed on black people and women, respectively, because it highlights that there needs to be protection from these people who perpetuate harm. And you are in a group that perpetuates harm. That doesn't mean you specifically perpetuate harm, but that means historically the group that you may identify with has perpetuated harm against this other group of protected people. Like, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that. Like, it's not a personal attack against you unless you take it personal. If you take it personal, you might want to do some introspection and look inside and why you feel like you're taking it personal. But if you are looking at the facts, at the figures, the statistics, and you see what has been, if you are a person who doesn't want to perpetuate harm, you would be in agreement with the protections that are provided to these protected classes of people. Because it's not like this stuff is coming out of nowhere. Like, people are like, oh, racism is over. Texas did not finish integrating schools until like 2003, y'all. And it might even been later than that. But I know it was in the early 2000s that the last school in Texas was integrated from segregation. Because whenever segregation was abolished in schools, Texas did specifically said, hey, like, that would be really hard for us given how racist we are. We're so racist that we just integrated everyone all at once, there would be a riot. So can we do like a slow rollout? And that slow rollout of integration for schools did not end until 2000 something. Within the last 25 years. They finished integrating schools, and now they are trying to strike down the Voting Rights Act so that people cannot, so that race can't be taken into account when they're redistricting lines. And they know it's just like they're going to do things that say, oh, we didn't take race into account while drawing these lines. It just so happens that like black people are half of the population, but they have no representation just because it just happened to fall. The chips just happened to fall that way. Yeah, I know that, like 50% of the population is black, and, they don't have any districts that are majority black because we decided to break them up to ensure that only black people will be voted with a whole bunch of other white people, so that their vote will actually kind of disappear. That's just a coincidence. Just don't look, nothing to see here. Like, when they struck down the first part of the Voting Rights Act that said that states who have historically had racial issues, they had to take any of the decisions regarding voting to the federal level, and the federal level had to approve of any changes to their voting system. They struck that down, I think, in 2015, because they said that, it's been so long, we don't need this anymore, racism is over. I'm just like, y'all, segregation didn't end in Texas until 2003. And so it was 10 years, like, y'all, and then again, on paper, when something changes in this country or anywhere at all, on paper, when something changes, that it takes decades for the culture to change according to that law. Like, gay people just got the ability to be married within the last 10 years. Well, I think that might have been in 2015 too. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like recently gay people got the right to be married legally to one another. And the culture, it took at least a decade for and then even then there's still a culture of anti-gayness, of anti-LGBTQ, of homophobia across the United States. There are so many homophobic people still, many still homophobic people who still walking around. But racism is over. But gay people have the right to marry. Gay people have the same rights as everyone. I'm sure you would say that. They're trying to take away. They just took away the right to a woman having an abortion if she needed it across many states. But you know, there's no such thing as the patriarchy. Women have the same rights as men. I'm sick of the fake ignorance. I'm sick of the pretend ignorance. I'm sick of the. Bye.
Us as black people, and I'm calling out everybody black, we have to create our own black privilege. We have to. It's non-negotiable. What does that look like? I was on a plane sitting first class. There was a little girl walked by me. She had a backpack on. She was so adorable, and she just kept staring at me. And I said, "You are so pretty." And she goes, right, she looked away. I said, "No, you are so pretty." And then I heard her ask her mom, like, about me sitting up front, right? What that means. Her mom said, "Oh, that's first class." And she said, "Mommy, why we can't sit here?" So they're having this quiet conversation.
Right.
They get in their seat. I told the stewardess, "Go get that little girl." She said, "Which one?" The little girl that walked by me. She went and got the little girl. I said, "Listen, you have my seat if the mom's okay with it." The mom was like, "Absolutely." So I said, "She has my seat. Whatever she wants, order it." But my point is, I created black privilege with that. We have to start to create that. White people only have white privilege because they privilege their people. We have to start seeing our black people and privilege them. Yeah. We have to do that. That is something I'm calling out every black person to do. If you got a penny or if you got $1 million, figure out once a day what black person you can privilege. I don't care if it's your neighbor or if it's a family member. Please do that.
Black Americans are one of the most privileged people in the world, and we have to talk about it more.
Bet, please do tell me how privileged black Americans are.
Here's the average salary in Mexico, in Ukraine, in Egypt, in Vietnam, all big countries with huge economies from different continents. And here is average welfare check in USA. You see the difference?
You missed already. I guess cost of living just doesn't exist. Cost of living in Mexico compared to the United States, Ukraine compared to the United States, Egypt compared to the United States, and Vietnam compared to the United States. So while we can just say, oh, these are very big economies and look at the difference in wage compared to the welfare checks, we must take into account how much money it actually costs to live in a given society in order to determine whether or not these things are disproportionate. And given that in every fucking country you just mentioned, the cost of living is so much lower than the United States, you can understand why the difference is there. Also, this video is supposed to be about how privileged black people are, but the first thing he talks about is welfare checks. Also claiming that a group of people are privileged because a welfare check was set at an amount that's higher than another country's wage is fucking dumb, considering the people that live in the country with the welfare checks are considered poor for that country in that economy that they need to live in. So saying, oh my god, you're considered poor here, but you wouldn't be in a different country is as dumb as saying, oh, you were just raped? Well, guess what? People have died, so you must be privileged.
People all over the world have to work hard for this money, while people in America are getting more for doing absolutely nothing, just because they are born in the United States.
Miss number 2, it would be a damn shame if the majority of people on welfare are actually working. Because, oh yeah, while we can complain about how high the welfare checks are compared to other countries, it isn't even enough to live in America off of, which forces people who are even working full-time to still work a job while being on government assistance. Again, because while we can play Oppression Olympics, context matters.
Now just imagine being born in Harlem, New York, one of the richest cities in the world, in one of the richest countries in the world, and complaining about not being able to get out of the ghetto, while some Middle Eastern refugee has to smuggle himself to America illegally in a cargo bay of the ship, not having home, not having money, not having citizenship, just to get the slightest chance at life that you had since birth.
It's a damn shame you don't even realize how stupid this just was. Level 1, let's talk about your logic. This essentially boils down to don't ask for anything more if you're already receiving more than somebody else. Which, for obvious reasons I would hope, makes zero fucking sense. That Middle Eastern refugee who had to smuggle himself on a ship in order to make it to America has it measurably better than a Southeast Asian kid who will live and die in the same village buried under plastic and trash from our pollution. Does that mean we should make no effort to make it so that Middle Eastern refugees shouldn't have to smuggle themselves into the country to have a good life? Does that mean that those Middle Eastern refugees should just shut up and acknowledge the fact that they're more privileged than somebody else? Fucking no! And if you say yes, then you're counteracting everything your entire video is about. Hence why Oppression Olympics is a dumb game to play. Level 2 of why this is stupid. Let's run the actual numbers. Seeing as you mentioned refugees coming to America, let's compare them to black people in America. Again, context matters. After 5 years in the United States, refugees have a median household income of $22,000. After 15 years, that grows to $37,000, and after 50 years, it grows to $67,000. Black people in the United States had a median household income of $30,400 in 1970. 51 years later, that number is $48,297, which means if we run the numbers on that, in the same amount of time it has taken refugee household income to grow by $45,000, black household income has grown by $17,897. So if I wanted to stoop down to your level and assume that money, devoid of all context, immediately denotes privilege, who is more privileged in the United States? This very point is something that you go on to contradict yourself on 2 seconds later when you go on to say,
And please, don't give me that excuse about America being racist. Here's the list of richest households in the United States by ethnicity. White people are not even in top 5. How could they all be so prosperous if the country is so racist?
Bucko, I don't even think you realize what you're saying here. This is exactly why context matters, because I'm not sure what privilege you're trying to preach to black people about, when not only do all the other Americans make more money than black Americans, average Americans make more money than black Americans. Would you really make the argument that for any other demographic in any other country, them making less than what the average person in their country makes is them having privilege? No, the hell you wouldn't, which is why you try to bring it to a worldwide context, because as soon as you start talking about American context, you get blown the fuck out of the water and start trying to disprove racism by Obama.
Can you name any other dominantly white country that had black president for 2 terms in a row?
Who's gonna tell him that the next president started a rumor that he wasn't even born here simply because he was black? Now we can talk about how a lot of these immigrant groups you mentioned have higher rates of college degrees, which is something that is quite literally selected for prior to immigration into this country, meaning a disproportionate amount of them coming over with education already, which is why they make so much more than the native-born population. We can talk about how Asian Americans have not faced the same institutional barriers as black people. We can talk about Harlem and how you're apparently confused that many black people can't make it out the ghetto.
And you can't get out of the ghetto, really? Man, maybe take a subway?
When the city was redlined to high hell. East Harlem had the 7th lowest household income among 55 other New York neighborhoods, and almost 1/3 of households live below the federal poverty line, and how it was literally the birthplace of the very Renaissance that was an artistic backlash to intense anti-black racism in the country. We can talk about the fact that while yes, slavery and racism exist in countries all over the world, the slavery that built the new world was chattel and racialized, which is something that was unique, that was not found in the Middle East, in Africa, or in Europe prior. But something tells me that if you don't even have the brain cell count to realize that you just made an entire video about why black people are privileged while using the same racist, factually incorrect statements that have been used since 20 years after slavery to justify why black people are in such shit positions, then something tells me you're not ready for that conversation. I award you no points. May God have mercy on your soul.
Because we know them so well, because we had to be able to survive in this country, I forget how much white people don't know us. But videos like this one.
See, you're still gonna be black, and we're not. Stop driving like an Don't say
It is.
great. You know what's great?
You see this?
You're still gonna be black, and we're not. Make sure you tell them you're I'm still white, you're still black.
And this one.
You people are jealous that I'm not dependent and need
You're jealous because you are not white.
Wow. I hate that for you.
That's the only problem.
That's not my
What?
I don't want to be white. I want you to be
Mondale,
white.
please. I wanted to be nice.
You don't know how to be nice. You came out with a passive attack.
No, I didn't.
Show me just how very much they don't know us. Because the one thing I thought was obvious, that just oozed from us, is that we love being black. Like, if you give black people the opportunity to come back as something else, we will choose black every time. As a matter of fact, I thought that was one of the reasons that so many of them hate us, because we're so joyful in spite of all that's been done to us, in spite of how much they've tried to oppress us, in spite of the hate that we receive. We're just so joyful. But obviously that's not the case. Surprising, because Lord knows we black folks love being black. Somebody better tell them.
What does black privilege look like?
Child, I'm so glad you asked this question, because it's the fact that y'all don't age. That's black privilege right there. Y'all don't age. Y'all could be 102 and be looking 25. Be 73 looking 18. Be 45 looking 15. I don't like that. I'm white. So when I'm 72, I'm going to look 93. What's the secret? Is it cocoa butter? Do I need to go get me some cocoa butter? Is that what it is? Is that the secret? I don't like that. How y'all just don't age. I mean, y'all do age, but it's like reverse dog years. Y'all get 2 years older, but your looks go like 5 years back. I don't like that.
Before they told us to stay in line, before they told us don't talk too loud, don't be too proud, don't celebrate yourself, don't question the system, don't expect equality, just be grateful. They told black people that. But right now, they are watching the tables turning. God of black people is doing something. They are witnessing black Americans earning large groups or earning in large, earning large groups. Let me talk about black people are doing good. They are seeing Africans building new economies. They are seeing Caribbean youths rising in culture and political influence. Right now, black youths are choosing confidence, are choosing identity, are choosing culture and self-love over assimilation. Now, upon doing that, suddenly the system shakes. They are worried, they are terrified, because control was the real privilege. Narrative was the real power, because silence was their shield. But once the oppressed discover their strength, the oppressor becomes afraid. Black people are discovering their strength right now. Now they have fear disguised as anger, insecurity disguised as accusations, privilege disguised as victimhood. Let me say this. Back then, they were okay when we were entertainment, because they were taking black people as an entertainment. They were okay when we were the trend. They were okay when our brilliance as black people made them rich, because they monetized our trend, they monetized our culture, they monetized everything about us. But our community stayed poor, so they were okay with that. So they loved our music, our creativity, our energy, our styles, everything about us. They loved it, our rhythm. But the moment black people start owning businesses, the moment black people start branding their culture, the moment black people start controlling the image, we control our own image and building generation power, suddenly things have changed. It has become unfair advantage. It has become agenda. It has become black privilege. Listen to me here. They didn't have a problem with black success, no. But they have a problem with black independence. Because when a people can think for themselves, when a people can finance themselves, when a people can defend themselves, nobody can control them. Even when a person can educate himself or herself, nobody can control him or her. And when you cannot control black people anymore, then the world changes, okay? The world changes. Let's be real at one time, because the system was never built to compete with us. No. We were never the underdog in ability. Only we were the underdog in opportunities, okay? Then the truth is, when the playing field becomes fair, we don't just participate, we win. We dominate as black people. When you come as in education, when the field become fair in education, we rise. When it becomes fair in business, we rise. In innovation, we rise. Athletics, we shift the planet. Okay? So we are the pulse of youth energy worldwide. And every time competition become equal, black people or black excellence shines like the sun. That is the reality. And this is one of the truths that they cannot swallow. This is one of the truth that they know it, they fear it, they know about everything. I'm not talking about white people only, but I'm talking about the white system. When I talk about the whiteness, I talk about the system that have took whiteness as a privilege. Okay? Black success, they say it's privilege. No. Black success is a proof that they lied about us for 400 years. They lied about black Americans for 400 years. They lied about Africans for years. You know? I want you to hear me carefully, my people. When they say black privilege, what they really mean is how dare black people succeed without needing us. They think freedom is something they grant, not something black people inherit. They want applause because they allowed a few of us to succeed. But we are not begging for space anymore. We are not begging for space in their system. We are building our own spaces, our own lands, our own economies, and our own global network. And nothing scares power more than self-sufficient black world. Because they know or they understand a united black consciousness means what? Means African rises, diaspora rises, black wealth multiplies, the global narrative shifts, and false supremacy collapses. And this means that they don't get to control the future. That is what rages look like. Fear of losing exclusive power. Let me say this. The new black generation is different. It's different because of why? Because this generation is not playing victim. This generation, our generation, is not begging, is not silent, is not apologizing for greatness. What we are doing, we are proud of ourselves. As a black person, I'm proud of myself. We are spiritual, we are united, we are global, we know our worth, we know our history, and we are not afraid. We are awake, okay? And this is the generation rewriting the world's narrative right now. They see it, but they can't stop it, okay? They see it, they can't stop it. So they did what? They label it black privilege, okay? But it's not black privilege, it is black power. Okay? It's black power. For centuries, entire system was built to convince the world that whiteness meant superiority and blackness meant dependency. But right now, the illusion is breaking. Not because they chose to dismantle it, but because they outgrew it. Dr. Amos Wilson warned black people and said that power is the ability to define reality and have others respond to that definition as it were their own. That is Dr. Amos Wilson. And for 400 years, they defined blackness for the world. But right now, today, black youths, they are defining themselves. We are defining ourselves. Black scholars define themselves. Black creators, black nations, we are defining ourselves. And that is what they fear. Okay? Their ability to shape our identity is collapsing. And when oppressed people define themselves, the oppressor, do what? The oppressor loses power. That's not privilege. That is self-reclamation. Okay? Malcolm X said, I will quote this, the most disrespected person in America is the black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the black woman. The most neglected person in the black is a black woman. And yet today, black women, they are leading entrepreneurship rates, dominating academic excellence, shaping global culture, becoming political leaders, raising conscious generation. So, for the first time, the world is focused to comfort and truth. And the black women or the black woman is not rising. She is returning to her natural position. That's where our black mothers were. Remember Queen Nziga. Remember Queen Nani. Remember all of the great, women are the continuation of generations. Okay? So black woman is just returning to his place or to her place. Okay? Marcus Garvey said this, a people without knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. I've been saying that all the time. And for decades, they tried to cut our roots, erase our African identities, brilliance, mock our identities, rewrite our history. But right now, black youths are studying Africans' empires. We are studying about African philosophy, about global black resistance, about economic power building. We are reconnecting with Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya. We are reconnecting with the black Americans, with the Caribbeans, That's what we are doing. So I'll say this. Gavi said we will unite global, and today with the digital technology, Africans and black Americans and Caribbeans are uniting. Black people are uniting, and it is very scary to them. So what we are doing when we are winning, they call it black privilege. Maybe, when you go in a company and you find more black people, maybe they will say it's because of DEI. That's why we have a lot of black people. But not that. It's because they can't do without black people. And black people, when they step somewhere, they make sure they shine. That's all I have today. Tell me what you think on the comment section. Until next episode, peace out.